When I arrived in the United States, everything felt new and exciting. The air smelled different, like fresh rain and concrete after a long day. The sky looked bigger, and the buildings seemed to reach higher than I had ever seen before. My suitcase felt heavy, but my heart felt even heavier. I had left everything behind: my husband, my home, my family, to come here and improve my English. "Miss, do you need help with your bag?" a kind voice asked at the airport. It was a tall man in a uniform. His smile was warm, but his words sounded fast. I nodded nervously. "Yes, thank you," I said, carefully pronouncing each word. He took my suitcase and walked with me to the taxi line. "Where are you headed?" he asked. I fumbled with my paper, showing him the address of my host family. This place," I said, feeling embarrassed by my broken English. "Don't worry," he said kindly. "You'll do great here." Those words gave me a small boost of confidence, but as I sat in the taxi, watching the city pass by, doubt crept into my mind. Could I really do this? Could I live in a new country, speak a new language, and survive without my husband by my side? When I arrived at the house, my host mom, Linda, greeted me with a big hug. "Welcome. You must be tired after your flight," she said, leading me inside. The house smelled like cinnamon and coffee, and the wooden floors creaked softly under my feet. I looked around, taking in the cozy living room with its soft yellow lighting and family pictures on the walls. "Thank you, Linda," I said, trying to sound confident. She smiled. "You're going to be just fine here. Let me show you your room." My room was small but comfortable. There was a bed with a floral blanket, a wooden desk by the window, and a little lamp that glowed warmly. I sat on the bed, touching the soft fabric, and felt a wave of emotion hit me. I missed my husband already. I pulled out my phone and stared at his picture. "I'm here," I typed in a message. "I miss you." He replied quickly, "I miss you too. You're so brave." "I'm proud of you." Those words brought tears to my eyes. I whispered to myself, "I can do this. I have to." The next morning, I woke up to the smell of pancakes and syrup. Linda called from the kitchen. "Breakfast is ready." As I sat at the table, she asked, "So, what's your plan today?" I go, "To school," I said, struggling to form the sentence. She nodded. "Great. Remember, everyone makes mistakes when learning. Don't be afraid to speak." Her encouragement warmed me. The world outside felt big and scary, but in that little house, I felt a spark of hope. It started on a regular day at school. I was sitting in the back of the classroom, trying to understand the lesson. The teacher spoke quickly, and the words sometimes felt like a blur. I often looked around, hoping to see another student as lost as I was. That's when I noticed him. His name was Daniel. He sat near the front, always answering questions confidently. His English sounded perfect, though I later found out it wasn't his first language either. He was from Brazil like me, and that small connection made me feel less alone. During a break, he approached me. "Hi, I've seen you in class." "You're from Brazil, right?" I nodded, surprised. "Yes, I am." "And you?" He smiled. "Same here. It's nice to finally talk to someone who understands how hard this is." We laughed, and for the first time since I arrived, I felt a little more relaxed. We started sitting together during classes, sharing notes, and even practicing English together after school. It felt innocent, just two people helping each other in a foreign place. One evening, Daniel suggested grabbing a coffee after class. "There's a great little cafe around the corner," he said. I hesitated for a moment. My husband's face flashed in my mind, but I thought, it's just coffee, nothing more. The cafe was cozy, with soft jazz playing in the background. We talked about everything: our struggles with the language, our homes, and our families. When he laughed, it felt easy to laugh too. Days turned into weeks, and our friendship grew. He would send me messages, small jokes that made me smile. I started looking forward to seeing him in class. One evening, after a long study session, he looked at me differently. His gaze lingered and my heart skipped a beat. "You're amazing, you know that?" he said softly. I froze. "Daniel." "I'm married," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I know," he said, looking down. I can't help how I feel." For a moment, I wanted to leave, but I didn't. Instead, I stayed, caught in a wave of emotions I didn't understand. That night, I made the wrong decision. The guilt hit me immediately. As I walked back to my host family's house, the world felt heavier. I couldn't look at my phone without feeling ashamed. When my husband called that night, his voice was warm. "How was your day?" he asked. "It was fine," I lied, feeling the weight of my words. As I ended the call, I sat on my bed, staring at the ceiling. What had I done? My chest tightened and tears filled my eyes. I didn't know who I was anymore. The guilt didn't hit me all at once. It grew slowly, like a shadow that got bigger each day. At first, I thought I could push it aside, pretend it didn't happen, but it wasn't that simple. Every time my husband called, I felt it. His voice, so kind and loving, made my heart ache. "How's school going?" he would ask. "Are you making friends?" "Yes, everything is fine," I would reply, forcing a smile even though he couldn't see me, but it wasn't fine. My words felt hollow, and every lie added to the weight in my chest. I started avoiding his calls. When my phone buzzed, I would stare at the screen, my hands trembling before letting it go to voicemail. One evening, he sent me a message. "Is everything okay? You're so quiet lately." I stared at the words for a long time, my chest tight. What could I say? I couldn't tell him the truth, but lying felt unbearable too. "I'm just busy with classes," I replied, typing slowly. That was the first of many excuses. I told myself I needed time to think, to figure out what to do, but deep down, I knew I was running away. Even at school, I couldn't escape the guilt. Every time I saw Daniel, I felt a mix of emotions, shame, confusion, and something I didn't want to name. He tried to talk to me, but I kept my distance. "Are you okay?" he asked one day after class. "I'm fine," I said quickly, avoiding his eyes. But I wasn't fine. I couldn't focus on my studies, couldn't enjoy the little things that once made me happy. The smell of pancakes in the morning, the warmth of the sun on my face, everything felt dull. At night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. My mind replayed the moment I made the mistake over and over like a broken record. What kind of person does this? I asked myself, how could I betray someone who loves me so much? The worst part was the distance I felt between us. My husband and I used to share everything, our hopes, our dreams, our little jokes. Now, every conversation felt like walking on thin ice, afraid that one wrong word would crack the surface. The guilt followed me everywhere, like a heavy backpack I couldn't take off. I tried to focus on my routine classes, homework, even small outings with my host family, but nothing could distract me from the truth. I felt lost, disconnected, and so incredibly alone. It took weeks for me to find the courage to tell the truth. Each day felt heavier than the last. The lies were piling up, and I couldn't keep pretending. I knew that if I didn't confess, the guilt would destroy me, and maybe our marriage too. One evening, I sat on my bed, staring at my phone. My hands were shaking as I dialed his number. When he answered, his voice was warm as always. "Hey, how are you?" he asked. I need to talk to you," I said, my voice trembling. "Is everything okay?" He asked, the concern in his tone making my chest tighten. "No," I said, tears already running down my face. "It's not okay. I made a mistake." There was silence on the other end of the line, and it felt like the world stopped. "What do you mean?" he finally asked, his voice cautious. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I wasn't honest with you. Something happened here, and my words broke into sobs. You cheated on me? He asked, his voice now sharp, full of disbelief. Yes, I whispered, barely able to get the word out. The silence that followed was unbearable. I could hear him breathing, could feel the weight of his pain even through the phone. Why? He finally asked, his voice cracking. I don't know, I said, shaking my head even though he couldn't see me. I was lonely, confused, but that's no excuse. I'm so sorry. I regret it every second. Please believe me. How could you do this to us? He asked, his words heavy with anger and hurt. I don't know, I said again, my voice breaking. I hate myself for it. I love you. I don't want to lose you. There was a long pause. Then he said, I need time to think. I understand, I said, wiping my tears. Take all the time you need. I just needed to tell you the truth. When the call ended, I felt both relieved and shattered. The weight of the secret was gone, but now I faced the reality of what I had done. Over the next few days, I barely slept. I waited for him to call, not knowing if he would ever forgive me. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart jumped, only to sink when it wasn't him. When he finally called, his voice was calm but distant. I'm not sure what to do, he said. I love you, but I don't know if I can trust you again. His words cut deep, but I understood. I'll do whatever it takes to fix this, I said. I'll prove to you that I can change. That conversation was painful, but it was also the start of something new, a chance, however small, to rebuild what I had broken. Rebuilding his trust was the hardest thing I've ever done. After my confession, I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I didn't realize how much work it would take. Our first few conversations were short and strained. Every word felt heavy, and every silence was filled with unspoken pain. Do you still talk to him? He asked one day, his voice cautious. No, I said firmly. I cut all contact, I promise. He nodded, but I could see the doubt in his eyes, even through the screen during our video calls. I started sending him messages every day, little updates about my life. I'm heading to class now, I would write, or I saw a beautiful sunset today and it made me think of you. Sometimes he would reply with a short message like, okay, or thanks. Other times he wouldn't reply at all. But I kept writing, hoping that one day he would believe in me again. We also had long, painful conversations about what happened. He asked questions I didn't want to answer, but I knew I had to be honest. Why did you do it? He asked one night. I was lonely, I admitted, my voice trembling. I missed you so much, and I let my feelings take control. It was a terrible mistake, and I regret it every day. Do you regret it because you hurt me? He asked, or because you got caught? His words stung, but I understood why he asked. I regret it because I hurt you, I said. I regret it because it was wrong, and because I love you more than anything. Slowly, we started finding moments of connection again. He shared stories about his day, and I listened intently. I made sure he knew that he was my priority, even from a distance. When I returned home after the program, I could see the hesitation in his eyes as we hugged for the first time. The warmth was there, but so was the pain. Rebuilding trust took more time than I expected. There were days when he would bring up what happened, his voice full of doubt. There were nights when I cried alone, wondering if we would ever truly be okay again, but there were also moments of hope. Like the time he held my hand and said, I'm trying to forgive you. It's not easy, but I'm trying. Or the time he surprised me with a note that said, thank you for not giving up on us. I worked hard to show him that I was committed to making things right. I attended counseling, not just for us, but for myself, to understand why I made the choices I did. I wanted to be a better person, not just for him, but for me too. Now, as I look at where we are, I know there's still work to be done. Trust is fragile and love is complicated. But every day, we take small steps forward. I often ask myself, can love really survive a mistake like this? I don't have the answer yet, but I hope it can.
Thank you for watching. Enjoyed the story? Subscribe to learn more English through real-life stories, like turn on notifications and comment your city and country. We'd love to know. Let's learn and grow together. See you in the next video.